Good afternoon. For today's lesson, our new theme is environment. In this lesson, we will speak about environment. Let's begin our lesson by repeating the new words and new vocabulary of the topic. So here is given some new words related to the word environment. At first, what does it mean environment? Environment is a air, water, and in all which people, animals, and plants that we live with, they are called environment. More must be done to protect the environment from pollution. Environmental problems are becoming very severe in many countries, for example. And next one is climate. The weather conditions generally present in an area or over a long period. The Mediterranean region tends to have a mild climate over the winter. Climate change. The change in global climate patterns which appeared from the mid to late 20th century onwards, caused mainly by the increased level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. For example, if you take some for examples, the climate around the world has been changing rapidly over the last decade. Climate change is one of the most serious problems that the world is facing today. Carbon dioxide is a gas formed when carbon is burned or when people or animals breathe out. The burning of fossil fuels releases large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which leads to global warming. Trees absorb carbon dioxide. Fossil fuels and natural fuels such as coal, gas, or oil formed in the geological past from the remains of living organisms. Some people don't believe that humans' reliance on fossil fuels is to be blamed for global warming. Global warming, a gradual rise in the world temperature is caused by polluting gases such as carbon dioxide, which are collecting in the air around the Earth and preventing heat escaping into space. Deforestation is contributing to global warming because trees absorb carbon dioxide. Next one is deforestation, cutting down and clearing areas of the forest. Deforestation is destroying animal habitats. Habitat is a natural environment in which an animal or plant usually lives. With so many areas of woodland being cut down, a lot of wildlife is losing its natural habitat. Ecosystem, all the living things in an area and the way they affect each other and the environment. For example, the world has a delicately balanced ecosystem and pollution can damage this. The marine related to the sea ecosystem was badly damaged by the oil spill. Biodiversity. What does it mean biodiversity? The variety of plant and animals life in the world or in a particular habitat, a high level of which is usually considered to be important and desirable. The rich and diverse biodiversity of our planet must be protected. Contamination, to make something less pure by exposing it to poisonous or polluting substances. The water has been contaminated by the release of toxic chemicals into the river. The water supply is being tested for contamination. Toxic poisons or poison substance. The dumping and disposing of something in a careless way of toxic waste has contaminated the area. Waste, a material or substance which is eliminated or discarded as no longer useful or required after the contamination of a process. And the emission is the production and discharge of something. Erosion, gradually reduce or destroy. Drought, a prolonged period of abnormally low rainfall, leading to a shortage of water. Pollution, damage caused to water, air, land, and etc. by harmful substance or waste. Sustainable, causing little or no damage to the environment and therefore able to continue for a long time. So here are the new words for today's lesson. Now we will watch a video about environment and environmental problems. First, let's watch.
More. And today's topic specifically is the environment or environmental issues, pollution, etc. I'm going to look at environment in general, give you some good words to use when discussing the environment. We're going to look at pollution as a specific issue and the consequences of pollution or environmental actions, bad actions that people take. And we're going to look at these because these are the most common aspects of the environment that come up in IELTS and essay topics for essays. Okay. Now, this is not a complete list. There are a lot of other words that you can find and use, but this is a good collection of words to get you started. Now, if you haven't already started working on an idea bank, I highly recommend that you do so now. You can make an idea bank for environmental issues and start with these vocabulary topics, these words I'm going to give you, and then work your way up. Hi everyone.
Grammarly helps make your writing clear and concise, no matter where you are. Compose a cover letter that stands
more, collect questions, etc. Smaller parts that can be reabsorbed by nature. So when we're talking about bio means life or organic. We're talking about organisms. So we're talking about organic materials, things that you can basically throw out in the garbage, and nature will somehow recycle by herself into usable nutrients. Again, when you're talking about food, if you throw out your apple core on the street, not a problem. The sun and bacteria or other animals will break it down. It will decay. It will become nutrients that absorb into the ground and used for plants and get back into the natural cycle of things. You can also use organic materials to compost. To compost means it's a recycling, but are organic materials. You're getting the nutrients out of them. You're creating like nutrient-rich soil that you can then use as fertilizer to grow plants and things like that. So biodegradable, this is good, very good for the environment. Things like plastic or metal, anything that's non-organic is non-biodegradable. It means it can't break down, it can't be reused by nature. So these are the things that hurt the environment, hurt nature, not good things. Biodiversity. So again, we're looking at bio as a prefix. It means.
So if you look at these new words or new vocabulary, here is given some of them. So biodegradable, it's meaning that organic materials decay and compose. And biodiversity, variety of life forms. Habitat, meaning habitation, inhabitant, living area of the creatures. Ecology, study of ecosystem, relationships within an ecosystem. Ecosystem, what does it mean? Ecosystem is the environment and all we need in it. Conservation and preservation, protect and use wisely, keep from harm to the environment. Food chain, humans, carnivores at top, plants at bottom. Marine life, wildlife, flora and fauna, and eco-friendly. They are food chain. They are called food chain.
Life. Diversity of life, so a variety of life forms. So people always talk about like environmental diversity. Use this word, biodiversity, when you're talking about different things, animals, plants, insects, etc. And again, you're going to use this word in combination with habitat. A habitat is the environment of living things, a particular environment. So for example, certain animals live in forest habitats. Certain animals live in jungle habitats, desert habitats, mountain habitats, all kinds of different habitats. If you're talking about the Earth, the planet, this is the habitat of all living things, carbon-based organisms like humans, animals, plants. Be careful not to confuse habitat with habitation. Habitation, you're going to use to talk about people, where people live, homes, houses, etc. And an inhabitant you can use with habitation or with habitat. So the inhabitants of a habitat are all the living things in that particular environment. Okay, if you're talking about the forest, all the animals, all the birds, all the insects that live in that habitat, they are all inhabitants. Now, ecology and ecosystem, people often confuse these two words, but they are different. Ecology, mostly we use to talk about the study of ecosystems. Let's go to ecosystem first. An ecosystem is the environment and everything inside of it. You can talk about particular ecosystems, just like you can talk about habitat. So habitat and ecosystem could be synonyms, but we can use ecosystems to talk about non-living things as well. If you're talking about computers or a computer network within an office, you have this office's computer ecosystem. Basically everything that is included inside that particular group, I guess you could say, that works together. Ecology is the study of this particular group or place, and it's also the relationships of everything inside that particular group or place. Okay, so within the ecosystem and then the ecosystem itself. Now, conservation and preservation. In most cases, you can use these as synonyms if you're talking about basically protecting the environment or protecting something. There is a slight difference though. Conservation basically means using wisely. So for example, if you're looking at forests, let's look at forests again. A conservation approach means every time you cut down a tree, you plant a new tree. That way, one tree is less, one tree is up, everything balances out, and you can maintain, or you can use this forest for a very long time. Preservation means just keeping it from harm. So for example, if you have a forest and all the trees in the forest are 500 years old, if you cut one down, if you plant a new one, it will take 500 years to replace. So that doesn't really make much sense. So these forests with the 500-year-old trees, we want to preserve. It means we don't cut the trees at all. We just keep it as it is and leave it alone and save it, basically protect it. Next, we have the food chain. The food chain is basically who or what eats what. So we have humans are generally at the top of the food chain. We can eat everything around us, and nothing really eats us. And carnivores, so when you're talking about in the jungle or the forest or whatever, the lion, for example, is the top of the food chain in the safari areas, in the wild, in the jungle. If you're talking about the ocean, you have the great white shark or the killer whale at the top of the food chain. They eat smaller animals, which eat smaller animals, which eventually you get small enough that they start eating plants. Okay, so plants are at the bottom. So you have grass, the cow eats the grass, humans eat the cow, and that's 3 steps in the food chain. When you're talking about wildlife, so people use this word a lot, wildlife, but you can also use marine life. If you're talking specifically about the ocean, you can use flora and fauna. Flora, plants, fauna, animals. This is a very good collocation. So these are all collocations here. This bottom line here is all collocations. And then you have eco-friendly. So everybody uses environmentally friendly. You can also say eco-friendly just to have a little bit of variety in your language. So now let's look a little bit at pollution. And when we talk about pollution, means air, land, sea, etc. And we also have pollutants, the things that create pollution, the things that pollute, basically the verb. Now, greenhouse gases, I think most people have heard this expression before. A lot of people separate the two words, green.
So here is given polluted pollutants. Greenhouse gases, they are called carbon dioxide, methane, aerosols, hydrocarbons, smokes, carbon footprint, and others. Fumes emissions, burning fossil fuels, pesticides, chemical fertilizers, solvents, detergents, paint, thinner, soaps, and others, solid toxic hazardous waste, and others, landfills, garbage, solid waste, leak, spill, leak, mostly oil toxic waste. So, viewers, it's the end of our video lesson. Thank you for your attention. Our lesson is over. Goodbye.